Hey there, you me and DC fans, and welcome if you are new. I am the stepson of Krypton,
I'm Mantis.
and today we are talking about the oh so briefly lived news of James Gunn finding his Maxima person, character, actress
Mm,
for the
yes,
upcoming Superman Man of Tomorrow movie. Mantis, are you ready to get on into it?
I'm ready.
All right, don't want to waste any more time. Let's just go ahead and jump on into the video. All right, guys. So we know the trend with James Gunn and rumors. Rumors spread. He shoots most of them down. Sometimes he waits a little while just to build the suspense. However, this one, he didn't wait very long before shooting it down. Mantis, do you kind of want to go over what like he had to say? Because he kind of was a little harsh on was it Deadline?
Yeah,
Yeah, he
Deadline.
was a little
Yeah.
harsh on him.
Yeah. Deadline reported that DC was considering Marissa Abella, Adria Aronia, and Ella Purnell for the role of Maxima. And the funny thing here is Deadline had reported all three actresses were already screen testing for the role, which is interesting. But like you said, James Gunn, being the social media, and I guess he doesn't. I guess from what I've seen, he's more on the Threads side. He does some stuff on Twitter, but it's mainly Threads. But he pretty much uh, was nuking that within an hour of that report coming out, and he wrote in his Threads reply, "Deadline's reporting is shoddy and incorrect. I've always thought Deadline was pretty thorough in their journalism, but." That's not the case here, so I'm frankly disappointed. If someone would have run these names by us, we would have said it's bullshit. I've been friends with Adria a long time since I cast her in Belko Experiment. I'm a fan of both Marissa and Ella, but I've never met either of them. Crazy.
Now, I say it as Adria because that's what it looks like, the spelling, and it reminds me of the Orosai. So I always just call it
Yeah,
Adria. But Adria,
Adria. Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
that also wasn't she named to play Wonder
Yes,
Woman? That they had rumors
yes,
that she was also test screening for that, and he had to shoot that down as well. So they're stuck on.
absolutely.
They're trying to push like you need to like put her in the DCU somehow or
Yeah,
another.
and again, maybe a lot of these rumors, it's kind of like telephone. Some producer or someone saw them going into a building, and maybe they actually went in to read something or was talking to someone else, or maybe it was they're looking for her for something else, and then by the time it gets to back to the print, now it's, well, yeah, she's definitely going in, they've been test screening. It's just that type of stuff happens all the time. But it's just interesting, it was so quick. Like James Gunn was either he was literally taking a shit and was like reading Deadline and was like, whoa, well, that ain't right, and was just, we gotta stop this right now. Um, but he went on to say, from another poster in Threads, if that was even, let's just say that those names are not correct, but is this confirming that Maxima is going to be in Man of Tomorrow? And he said, I'm not confirming that, and didn't confirm that. So at this point, we can just kind of infer that all of this is bullshit, and Maxima at this point is not in the movie. Although we can discuss who is Maxima. You know,
So that is a very, very good question. For those who aren't as familiar, um, been around in the comics since the 80s. So not anywhere near as old as Superman, but also not a new character. It's not like there's somebody who's just created, here recently and all that. But from the planet Almerac, I believe I'm saying that right. If I'm not, you know how I am with pronouncing things, so just move on.
Melmac.
Not to be confused with Melmac, where Alf is from. Um, but she's part of the royal family. She actually has some pretty immense powers, especially psionic powers, that her psionic powers even allow her to increase her strength to inhuman levels. Like, I mean, on par with Superman and even Doomsday. she did fight against Doomsday in the death of Superman. Now, here's an interesting thing, guys. I want to say this real quick. I'm going to show a couple examples to Mantis as well after we're done, but I'll have them up here on the screen. This is why also you don't worry about Googling things, because it's always a lying, because Google will tell you, if you just do normal Google, will tell you that, Maxima appears in the death of Superman in volume 2, issue number 75. She appears in that comic. She does not. Okay. You know how I know? Because I went into my vault of comics and I got to rebag and board it because they were looking a little. I have number 75, volume 2. Okay. She's not in there, right? This is from 1993. She is not in there. Okay. Now, I will say this is what the boards were looking like, right? They're looking a little skeezy. So I went ahead and rebagged them. Now, when you type into Google and you say, what was she in the Funeral for a Friend storyline? It will say, and I'll show you Mantis after, I'll have it on the screen right now. No, she was not in the Funeral for a Friend storyline. Who the fuck is that right there? That's Maxima. Okay?
Sitting right there.
And this is number 4 of the Funeral for a Friend series, because I also have that too. Okay. So, kind of ultra powerful character on her planet, because again, a lot with her psionic powers and such, was always kind of looked for a mate, and the only one in the universe she's deemed worthy is Superman.
Interesting. Now we were discussing before we kind of jumped on here, but my intuition, because I want you to talk about the possible link to another link to this movie, that why I think it's a perfect kind of not introduction. Well, I guess it would be introduction on the screen for her. Because her love interest is Superman. From the first movie, we had this kind of carryover of Superman and Lois, or Clark and Lois's dating, right? They've been dating for 3 months, that type of thing. And because, she ends up being a love interest for Superman, or she thinks she is, her mate is the only qualified mate is Superman in that sense. I thought this makes sense. Like, the rumor makes sense. Bring her in, their relationship of Lois and Clark is just now getting off the ground. What better to throw it into turmoil than to throw in another competing woman for Clark? It kind of puts Lois in a bad spot. Clark is able to be himself as much as he can as Superman and Clark around her. But also there's another tie that you mentioned that possibly could be with this.
There is. Now, I'm going to say this. Keep in mind, we're dealing with, decades and decades spans of comics that have had multiple writers, multiple iterations, and all of this. So the character has changed, and there's been different stories over the years. But obviously, her home of Almerac is, in some iterations, destroyed by Brainiac. Okay. And she ends up working for Brainiac for a while before then she turns against him and joins the, Justice League at some point and all that. So we know Brainiac is going to be in this movie. It would make sense that, okay, she comes to Earth. Maybe she's going to be a villain working for Brainiac, but then she meets Superman, because not only does she think that Superman's a worthy mate, she also, she is genetically compatible with Superman, so she can give him the one thing he can't get from other women, which is a child. Right now, I know in Superman Returns and Superman and Lois, we've always seen in Lois and Clark at the very last episode of season 4, where it ended, that he gets Earth Woman pregnant. That's not supposed to be a thing. He can't. Their biology is not compatible, but she is genetically compatible with Superman. So it would be a thing like, she comes down with Brainiac, but then she turns against him when she meets Superman. And again, she's kind of vying for his attention from Lois. So you add that in there.
Yeah.
Because what I'm worried about, and what you don't want to see happen, and I know a lot of Superman fans, just Superman fans, we'll just stick with that, we're not happy to see Superman kind of get his ass kicked so much throughout the initial Superman movie, right? Which you don't want to have happen, because they have been enemies she's been enemy of Superman and Supergirl in the comics, is her come down with Brainiac and then whoop Superman's ass. People are just kind of gonna be done, right? I'm tired of Yeah, I'm
right?
not going to see my favorite character or one of my favorites. It is my favorite, but just if for your average person, get kicked, get his ass kicked, especially not trying to be misogynistic, but I'm going to be by a woman, and all of
Mhm.
that. We don't want to see that, right? We want to see Superman be the badass character he is. So you run that risk, right? That's where I
Yeah.
think they would bring her in as she was kind of working for Brainiac reluctantly. She's going to meet Superman and he's going to, crazy redhead.
Well,
She's like, he's going to change me, like, and she reforms for Superman because technically she does, right? All the times that he
yeah.
shoots her down and he tells her why he's shooting her down in some iterations of the comic, she reforms to be a better mate for Superman, right?
Yeah,
She's
and
lying
like
to him. Put on an
well,
act, and then all of a sudden you marry her and she goes crazy.
yeah. I mean, like for the movie plot, and again, we're just speculating here. Again, even James Gunn said he's not confirming Maxima's in this movie, but with all of these superhero films, just like the first Superman movie, there's a minor villain. In the first movie, you could argue that Lex was the minor villain to Ultra Man, but it just depends on how you look at it. And she would be like you mentioned, come down with, or she's coming to Earth with Brainiac as the minor villain that turns right at there's going to be, whether we like it or not, if this happens, I guarantee this is how it'll be written, is like there's going to be some turn of her gaining heart to see Clark is going to be happy, truly happy with Lois, and she'll sacrifice herself to save Superman and or just to save Lois, to save the Earth or something like that, or do something so that Superman can save Lois in Earth, right? Like this is how this is going to go. There's going to be some like drama. There's going to be major drama here, which we didn't really get in the first film, other than a couple arguments, between Lois and Clark. There, I think that if they do this, there's going to be, some fucking high school drama shit in it. Is probably what's going to happen. So be prepared for that if it does.
See, that's more than likely. I agree with you what's going to happen. But what I would like to see happen is kind of like she's there, fights alongside, because I mean, again, she has fought against Doomsday, and actually in this series, the Death of Superman series, like she's not in she's not in that one. She's in a couple of the Justice League ones that were running concurrently. She is the only other one than Superman that is actually taking blows from Doomsday, right? She's
Mm.
that powerful. So, like, I'd like to see her. I think what would be funny is that she's there and she knows he loves Lois and all that, but then she's like smacking him on the ass in front of Lois, just kind of giving him that, like, whatever, just kind of still being kind of perverted, still making, those advances to him.
What's
She's
Lois
letting,
gonna do? Like, what is she? What is
well,
she
that's
gonna
the
do?
thing,
Yeah.
right? So she's doing it in front of Lois, but not like, oh, what are you gonna do, bitch? But just being herself, because she is kind of that way, right? I think would be funny just to see, because he's gonna be like, oh, God, she smacked his ass, but then Lois is like, again, what is she gonna do? I think that would be funny. And guys, I'm not advocating for sexual harassment. We grew up in a time when that shit would be considered funny. It still is to me. If it's not to you, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but
The
a chick smacking Superman on the ass in front of his
yeah,
girlfriend is funny in the way of, like, again, yeah, what is she gonna do to Maxima?
the modern thing would be Superman and Lois are in an elevator with, and Maxima comes on as is standing in front of them with her ass hanging out, and it's just right there, and Clark's like,
Making the effort to not look.
yeah,
Yeah, it's just like,
and Lois is just like giving him the fucking stank. Hey, you better not look at her ass. That's what it is, right?
I think the way he's playing Superman is a little too good-hearted as far as the movie to do something that deep. It'd be cool,
Yeah.
but it'd be something like that. I think, again, I'm not saying that's what would happen. I'm saying that would be funny. That would just
Well,
add that.
the smacking the ass, making the woman do it to the man is kind of reversal there, which is, I'm fine with it. But it also kind of fits in James Gunn's comedy. You know what I mean? Like that, it does kind of fit that. So I could see that happening for sure.
So again, Don't know. All speculation at this point. Again, we don't even know if Maxima is going to be in
Yeah.
it. I know me personally. I'm going to say me personally. I try not to give out like, hey, personal things as far as like my insights onto things because we try to be as open minded as we can here. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But I will say, I do not want to see Maxima in this movie that just whoops Superman's ass for most of the movie because I don't want to see another Superman movie of him just
I
getting his
don't
ass
either.
kicked. I
I don't
don't.
think anyone does. That was pretty blatant feedback from a lot of the, maybe not the critics, but the audience for sure. It was, and I know James Gunn, like, again, he reads social media. I know he heard it, right? Like, this is the main dude, like, I don't say the main man. This is your main superhero. You can't He can't get his ass whipped a whole film again. Like, that would be very bad.
We had somebody in our comment section say they commented said they're a diehard Superman fan and they absolutely hated that movie for that well a myriad of
One of
reasons,
the
but that was one of
Yeah.
them because they actually did go into their reasons, which I definitely appreciate. But that was one of them. Was I mean, he got his ass kicked. Now, granted, it's by Ultraman, but you couldn't even really define whether he was Ultraman, Bizarro,
Right.
whatever. But we don't want to see that. I get it. It's Superman, right? You got to bring him up. Like the only people that are going to be able to hold their own against him are going to be people that can do some damage to him, or they're going to do damage to the world around him, which we can tell he's saving squirrels. He doesn't want a lot of collateral damage, but
Right.
it doesn't mean I want to see Superman take the brunt of that damage and get his ass whipped. He's got to
Right.
be the one, like that's why she's getting so wet over him is because he's the badass,
I mean, the thing is, like, it's a catch-22 kind of like Man of Steel kind of. It's like Superman is virtually indestructible. So, like you said, you have two options. You go after his friends and family, or literally the world. Now, Zod went like pretty much after the world, right? Like, that was the whole concept of it, which included a lot of his friends and family. But that's the route they went with Man of Steel. If
and a
if they
lot of
go
people
with
didn't like it.
Right, and you, again, if you don't want to go directly at Superman and then get his ass beat the whole time, you're gonna have to go after Lois, which is the whole superhero trope. This is why they disguise themselves to protect the people that they care about. So, you
Which
know,
could be what Maxima does. Maybe she comes down and kidnaps Lois and is like, why do you want this little puny mortal, right? And then he's got to try to fight her or fight her off. But, again, maybe he convinces her to help him with the Brainiac situation. Who knows? Like, there's a myriad
yeah,
of things you could do. Just don't have her just whipping his ass the whole movie is
I agree.
is is the thing you got to do. Because, again, you mentioned Man of Steel. He doesn't get hurt in Man of Steel. They fuck up a lot, but he doesn't take any damage. I
He
mean, him and they're both back up. I mean, thrown through 5 buildings, comes right back, not a scratch, right?
The only time
Um,
he almost died was when he was underneath the world engine, and arguably when he was on the ship in the Kryptonian atmosphere. Like, those were kind of the only two times he was like in some deep shit.
you
You
saw him
know,
take damage. Other than
yeah,
that, I mean, he blow for blow with Zod, and neither of them are
wasn't
taking damage
really.
because I mean they're healing from it. And then when he got nuked, he was fucked for a few minutes.
Yeah, for a couple
But
minutes.
it's a nuke.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he actually healed up pretty well from that,
Yeah,
surprisingly, you
pretty
know?
quickly. So yeah, like, but we don't know. We'll see. Let us know down in the comments though. What are your thoughts? Do you want to see Maxima come into it, and in what capacity do you want to see Maxima come into it? Now, I
Yeah.
think it would be funny to have 6'4" David Cornsweat with little Ella Purnell from Fallout so tiny. um,
That would be funny, yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
but
Uh,
like, it's like that would be kind of like, oh yeah, you're supposed to be the baddest, but you're like a foot shorter than he is. So I
yeah.
don't know. She's like, okie dokie. And she's just in there like, but let us know how you'd feel about that. Not necessarily which actors, if you want to drop which actors, if of the three, if that was those were actually the choices, let us know that. But how do you feel about that and to what capacity you'd like to see her come in? All right. And if you've made it with us this far, consider giving the video a like, subscribing to the channel, and having the bell notifications clicked so you get alerted when we release new videos. We are dropping about one every other day right now. And guys, we want to thank everybody who has subscribed, both everybody recently as well as people have been with us from the beginning. We definitely appreciate you guys. You're the reason we do this. And everybody who's been commenting lately, the comments have been actually starting to blow up a little bit lately. I love seeing that. We
Yes.
love hearing differences of opinion. Okay. Because we're not necessarily always right, or we're not always saying our
Most of the time.
opinions right. It's true. But it's our opinion, right? The opinions necessarily aren't always right or wrong. It's your opinion. And everybody has a different one. And we want to hear that from you guys. We want the community to share and try to be respectful. You can have differences of opinions, still be respectful. So keep that in mind when you're leaving your comments, guys. All right. So, Mantis, you have anything else before we wrap?
Nope. I'm just looking forward to the next rumor James Gunn has to shoot down.
Hey, it's keeping us in content right now, man. Having to cover all these debunked rumors and things like that. So,
maybe the final trailer, I would assume, for Supergirl is coming out here soon, right?
Yes.
Like, you think they'll have one more?
Yes, they should. That's what Superman did, and we'll be covering that. We'll try to have that out to you as quick as humanly possible. And then, as far as our reaction watching it, because we watched the last one with you guys, we did not watch it early. And then we will probably do maybe a breakdown of anything that we notice in here that might lead us to get more information on what's going to happen in the Superman movie. All right, guys, that is going to do it for us on this episode of You, Me, and DC. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Later.
Oh, man.